I'm going to be a little mean to Halo, and it comes from a place of love. I think Halo, as we know it, is irrelevant now. So I've been playing Halo since the first game. I've played every single Halo. I've played Halo Wars, okay? I'm a legit Halo fan. But every release since Reach has felt less special than the last one. And having just played a bunch of campaign remastered or whatever, it's kind of crystallized my feeling about that franchise in that it almost has nothing to say anymore. And what I mean by that is there was a time when each Halo game represented something. And I'm not talking about like truth, justice, and the American way or anything like that. It actually had a kind of hook into the larger Xbox ecosystem or the hardware that it used to sell itself to new players and people who were existing fans. Obviously, the first game, the first Halo, that was the showstopper for that console, a brand new console. It was designed to be the showpiece, you know? You play that game, you get a feel for the unique way the shooting works, the fact that you have a first-person shooter that feels that good on a console, and it's on an Xbox, a brand new system that is very powerful. That was its function. When you played that Halo, you were sold on the idea of Xbox, right? That is the purpose of that game. Halo 2 comes along, right? Not an amazing game. It's kind of weird in a bunch of ways, given how quickly they put it out. But what it represented was connectivity. Like, it was the game that brought people together on consoles in a way that they had only experienced or seen happen on PCs. Until Halo 2, the idea of multiplayer first-person shooters competitively just wasn't a big thought. So while Halo 2 was a fun game for the most part, its real value was in building that bridge to something brand new that no one had ever experienced and showing people what it's like to play online games with your friends and having them buy into the vision for a connected video game space. That was what made that game stand out and made it a must play if you had an Xbox. That was the thing that meant that you had to have Xbox Live to truly get what makes that game unique and that console unique. I think Halo 3, which was my favorite Halo, was kind of the best of both worlds, did it better than those two games did, but also introduced and centered the community. That was a huge part. Forge was massive, obviously. Like, I loved playing Forge, but beyond that, it was, for me, the most enjoyable iteration of Halo multiplayer up until that point. It was, again, the showpiece, almost the reason to buy an Xbox 360 for a really long time. The other one, eventually, Gears, various other games. Xbox was hitting that generation non-stop. But Halo 3 was the game you wanted to play because everyone else was playing it and there was nothing else like it. That was the game where it was like, Halo is big enough that at launch, they're going to take over Times Square. The days of Halo taking over Times Square are long gone now. After Halo 3, it was, ODST and Reach, both good games in their own right. I think ODST was a very, very cool pivot into a more narrative, moody place. But it was the idea that Halo doesn't have to be just this thing. We have the ability, Bungie as a team, Halo as a franchise, has the ability to come at the IP from different angles and make something cool. And that's what ODST was. It was unlike anything. It still stands out as unlike anything else in that series, not counting the spin-offs and offshoots like Halo Wars. And then Reach was kind of like a return to form. Again, a narrative-driven game that felt like the closure of that franchise, that arc almost. It was the game that people obviously remember most fondly, had the most impact narratively, emotionally, character-wise. That was the game that I think was the kind of full stop on a lot of that era of Halo. That was the moment where Halo needed to evolve for me, and evolve in a major way. The Halo games that followed, they have been these kind of iterative games that always had something new to it, but it never felt unique. It never felt its own. It never felt it was creating a pathway for itself like the other Halo games did. It felt like it was trying to fit in. It was trying not to stand out by taking ideas from other games that it thought was popular and everyone expected and putting them in. And it often felt like it clashed. It felt weird. It never felt like it was doing any of that as good as another game. Like the whole reworked sprinting system and the way that Call of Duty kind of changed the way multiplayer games are played. When Halo did that, it didn't feel fresh and interesting and uniquely Halo. It felt like Halo was trying to do something that Call of Duty was, or any number of other first-person shooters multiplayer at that time. And that's kind of been the story of Halo since then. Halo doesn't represent anything. And the tricky part of it, which has come into more focus now that I've played the remastered or remade campaign, is that it feels like it is now impossible to make a Halo game that people like because it's trying to serve two masters, right? There's a generation of Halo fans that love it, that struggle with any sort of like major change because now Halo represents a nostalgic element of gaming. It's no longer the trendsetter. It's the thing that they want to play to make them feel like how it was back in the day. And by doing that, you're kind of trying to match those memories. You're never going to pull it off. Like it's never going to successfully scratch that itch of nostalgia that you're yearning for. And try as they might, it feels like an impossible thing. So by kind of going back to old games and remaking them or trying to make games that are very similar to those games, it feels like you're just setting yourself up for failure. I certainly felt that while playing the new campaign. I played it and I didn't find myself feeling nostalgic. I found myself pretty bored. Like, I love Halo. This felt very similar, which is impressive, but also it just reminded me of how good Halo was and how it no longer scratches that itch. One of my favorite content creators, Stormfall, there's a short that she put out where she talks about the new missions that they added for Halo, this remaster, and they are original content, original story, kind of put in there to bridge the gap and do some extra characterization stuff. And she described it, and it's what I think is also a good way to look at it, as an audition for what that team, Halo Studios, could potentially do going forward. It was their attempt to say like, hey, we understand Halo. We made these new missions. We hope you like it. We're going to do more of this. Unfortunately, those missions aren't particularly good. I think the writing is a bit wonky. It seems like Master Chief is not really Master Chiefy, and even the gameplay felt a bit flat to me. So now we're in a situation where I'm playing the old Halo. It should be making me feel good because it made me feel good. Instead, it's not making me feel good, and they added some new stuff which doesn't fit. I don't like it very much, and it's also a kind of damning indictment of that team's ability to make Halos going forward. So that's the old nostalgia crowd. The generation beyond that crowd, I don't think they care about Halo. I don't think they have any reverence for Halo. I know that's a almost sacrilege thing to say because Halo as an IP is an institution in video games. It's essentially similar to saying, I think Mario sucks. Like, even if you don't like Mario, you don't say Mario sucks, right? Like, it's objectively untrue. There are great Mario games out there. I'm not saying Halo sucks. What I'm saying is that same level of ambivalence, modern gamers have that. At least the modern gamers that came up in a post-Reach world. And Microsoft still operates as if Halo still has that prestige value. It still thinks Halo has the ability to shut down Times Square for a midnight launch, when it very much no longer does. It is now an also-ran that it originally other IPs were trying to be for Halo. So the fact that it's still not evolved in a meaningful way means that these people who don't have that nostalgic tie or that history of Halo aren't impressed. They don't see any value in this game other than it's a known quantity. Maybe some friends you know are playing it. Maybe you've heard people talk about Halo and you want to check it out. These games, these are people that the Halo needs to win over. And it can only do that by no longer being Halo. Halo needs to completely reinvent itself. That means finding something new, finding a new heart and soul to it, finding what Halo represents now. Because currently, the Halo games that are coming out are just identity crisis Halos. Each one feels like the Halo developers trying to figure out what Halo is and maybe hitting some parts, missing others, ultimately not putting out a game that has any of the juice that the originals did. The closest they've come to being interesting is also probably the Halo game that most people aren't super high on, that I am, Infinite. Infinite was the last one that they released. Not anywhere near the heights of the original Halo trilogy, ODST, Reach, but tried something, a little more open world, kind of pushed out the idea of the sandbox and explored it in a bigger space and more to work with. And I was like encouraged by that a bit. At the same time, it still felt too much like Halo to me. And I think that as long as I'm comparing it to what I think Halo is, it's never going to live up to that. And Halo isn't going to feel important again. I think that Microsoft, Xbox, and Halo, I'm sure they're sitting down now and figuring out what's next. I think the first part of that process needs to be, we need to step away from everything we were. We need to find some way of not being compared to who we were, and we need to find a way of creating Halo for a new generation of people. We need to find a way of defining the next generation of Xbox through this game, finding that two unique hook, feature, gameplay mechanic, idea, feeling that makes Halo feel like it's like nothing else again. And until they find that, I think Halo is going to be doomed to this mediocre kind of standing in gaming as a whole, where it's constantly trying to be relevant, and it kind of is a little bit, but most people just look at it and are like, you used to be cool, man. Not anymore, though. What is Xbox without Halo, and what is Halo without Xbox? Like, those are the two questions that you need to ask. I think Xbox can exist without the kind of Halo that they have had for a long time, but I'm not sure that the people at Xbox believe that. And I think that's what they kind of need to come to terms with. They can't keep relying on this character and this IP and not evolving it in any major way, because time after time, you're only going to get diminishing returns, and you are kind of lighting any potential it has on fire and ruining any future Halo interest that could develop from, experimenting and coming up with new ideas. And the other thing that I think is a major part of these modern Halo games is they don't sell unique gameplay ideas. They don't sell a feeling anymore. They don't sell a moment, a hype moment. They don't sell the idea of connectivity or community. They are there just to sell a service now. They are just there to fill a hole for Xbox. They're trying to sell Xbox consoles by just existing, as opposed to showing why you should play this on Xbox, why you need to have this, why that your future of gaming is going to be oriented by the gravitational pull of this game because it's such a unique feeling now. What did Halo do for Xbox back then? What can Halo do for Xbox in the future? Those are the things that I think that they really need to sit down and think about, because as it stands, Halo is, as the kids say, washed. And I hate that I came to that conclusion after playing one of my favorite Halo games, the first game that made me fall in love with Halo, and also the first game that made me feel like I needed to have an Xbox. I really want to see Halo back on top. I really want to see people loving Halo again. But if the future of Halo is more of what we have in different colors and different shades and different configurations, I think it behooves Xbox and it serves them more to just let it go. Like, find something else. If you can't reinvent Halo in a way that makes sense and really helps define the next era of gaming for you, just let Master Chief go. Just let it go. And I would say, like, some of that also kind of applies to Gears. I think Gears has done a better job of trying to move with the times, but also Gears feels so unique that not many other games out there feel like Gears. And you might say nothing else feels like Halo. I think it does. Like, a big part of how Halo feels isn't just how the gameplay feels. It's not just throw the grenade, watch them side shuffle, go around, shoot, and melee attack. It's not just that. It's that along with like connecting to your friends. The actual gameplay feel of Gears feels entirely its own. There's nothing I can play that I can say like, this is just like Gears. People have tried, but nothing quite matches up to it. And I think that's what allows Gears to continue to exist without doing that massive reinvention, and take smaller steps that stick with the times without feeling like it's just another game also ran in the same way that Halo does. So I think that this is a major juncture for Halo now, as the next console is, on the horizon. That needs to be a console that is launched with a Halo game, and it's a Halo game like we've never seen before. Something that Halo fans almost see as almost unrecognizable, because that's truly the thing that's going to get people excited again. If there's something completely fresh that they have no frame of reference for, that they can't compare to or be nostalgic for, but has the potential to, become their next favorite game, that is both what's going to decide the future of Halo and also be what kind of dictates how people see Xbox going forward. Anyways, that's Halo for me. I wish Halo was good. Again. Subscribe. Like. Share.